Morning, Nigeria, and welcome to What's Your Take. My name is Dayo Akintobi, and I will be taking you through the major stories that made the headlines yesterday, today, and every day. Joining me to bring you those stories today is our newscaster, Yetunde Afolabi. Seun Kuti was released yesterday. A lot of Nigerians breathing a sigh of relief this morning that at least justice is seen to be done by virtue of his release, even though he still has to have his day in court. So we are happy that he's back home with his family, and we hope things play out in a way that justice will be done for all parties concerned. All right, let's take a look at some of the lighter issues on the agenda today before we now look at the substantive news. Governor Sanwo-Olu at the inauguration of the Dangote refinery a couple of days ago said that Alhaji Aliko Dangote came to Lagos with nothing 45 years ago. That has been brewing some controversy because whether you may know it or not, Aliko Dangote is actually the grandson or great-grandson of Alhaji Dantata, who is one of Nigeria's richest men. So there's no way he came to Lagos empty. Matter of fact, I want to tell you, he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth from the very first day of his life on this earth. He was well-to-do. So he cannot possibly have come to Lagos with a Ghana must-go bag or a nylon bag with nothing in it. So Governor Sanwo-Olu probably has an apology to make in that regard for being a little off the mark. All right, we've talked about Seun Kuti being released from detention. The other thing that was disturbing yesterday was during the commissioning of the Niger Bridge and Second Niger Bridge and some other infrastructure, President Buhari made a comment that the Niger Republic will defend him after he leaves office if any Nigerian tries to come after him. And that, of course, created some ire in the minds of some Nigerians. How can you be talking about Niger Republic? You've been so benevolent to Niger Republic. What's your relationship with Niger Republic? You sold them electricity, you gave them cars for their government, you did so much for Niger Republic. Now you're talking about the fact that after you leave office, they will be the ones to shield you from criticism of your performance. Some Nigerians are saying, sir, better just relocate to Niger Republic because it seems you have greater affinity for Niger than you do for your own people here in Nigeria. All right, there's also a debate raging. The Second Niger Bridge, as commissioned yesterday, was named after General Muhammadu Buhari because, of course, this bridge has been in the pipeline for decades and it didn't happen, and the president during his tenure made it happen. So people feel he deserves the credit, and so it's been named in his honor. We have a debate, and we wonder what your take is. Will anyone in the Southeast really call this bridge Muhammadu Buhari Bridge? Will anyone in the Southeast? Because you know the Southeast has had an issue with the president for most of his tenure, and they generally didn't vote for him. All right, we'll take a break now, and when we come back, Yetunde will read the news and let you know what we have in store for you today. Don't go away.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the go-to app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other Paper Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Nigeria. And now I'll hand over to Yetunde to give us the headlines of the major stories we'll be looking at today with our guest in the studio. Over to you, Yetunde.
Thank you, Dio. Hello and welcome to the news update on What's Your Take. First, the headlines. Election Tribunal. Court dismisses Atiku, Obi's request for live broadcast of proceedings. Consolidates Atiku and Obi's petitions. Next, Dangote Refinery, commissioned in Lagos, set to release first product into the market in July. Refinery to generate $21 billion revenue, 100,000 jobs, says Dangote. Buhari describes refinery as a game changer for the economy. Biden names U.S. delegation to attend President-elect Tinubu's swearing-in ceremony. And last, Buhari commissioned second Niger Bridge, other infrastructural projects. Now, the details. The presidential election petition court on Monday dismissed the request by the presidential candidates of the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party, Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi, for the live broadcast of court proceedings of their petitions against the election of President-elect Bola Tinubu. The court sitting in Abuja dismissed the request, saying that it is not supported by any law in the country for now, and that it is capable of turning the court to a stadium or market square, and that such a situation must not be allowed for now. In another development, the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal on Tuesday decided to consolidate all three surviving petitions against the declaration of Bola Tinubu as the winner of the 2023 presidential election to be heard as one to aid the speedy dispensation of justice. The petitioners are the Labour Party and its candidates Peter Obi, the People's Democratic Party and its candidates Atiku Abubakar, and the Allied People's Movement, APM. Moving on, the Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals was commissioned on Monday in Lagos by President Buhari in company of 5 other African leaders. According to the chairman, Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, the refinery will employ over 100,000 Nigerian youths and generate over $21 billion in revenue. Dangote also said that the first products from the refinery would hit the market towards the end of July of this year. President Buhari, in his remarks, recognized that refinery will be a game changer for the Nigeria economy. Next, the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden, in a statement by the White House, has named a 9-person delegation to attend the swearing-in ceremony of President-elect Bola Tinubu, which is slated to hold on May 29, 2023, at Eagle Square, Abuja. The 9-person delegation will be led by Secretary of the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, Marcia L. Fudge. And lastly, President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday, 23rd May, commissioned the second Niger Bridge, and 6 other legacy projects. At the virtual inauguration of the projects, the President emphasized the infrastructural development was a priority in his administration so as to create wealth and make poverty alleviation easier. He also defended the huge debt profile accumulated by his administration. The President said, "We look at the debt profile. I urge us to also look at the assets and investment profile, some of which were paid for from debt and some by investment income. In 8 years, I am proud to say that we have doubled Nigeria's stock of infrastructure to GDP from about 20% to over 40%, and that is no small undertaking." And those are the headline news stories we'll be looking at today. Over to you, Dio.
Thank you, Yetunde. We shall take a short break now, and when we return, we'll be joined in the studio by our guest who will be giving us his take on all of these stories today. Don't go away. Welcome back. Joining me to take a look at the big stories for today and to give us his take, representing you, Nigeria, to give his take on the major stories of the day is Adesina Okewale. Adesina is the CEO of Moreways Landscapes. Welcome to today's show, Shino.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here.
Great. Tell us a little bit about Moreways Landscapes. What exactly does Moreways Landscapes do?
Yeah, Moreway Landscape is an engineering company that deals with landscapes of both commercial and private homes. We are specifically into the production and installation of interlocking paving stones. We do 3D floors, reflective floor, acid stains floor, then more of beautification of the external look of every building.
Ah, lovely. Okay, so there you have it. You want your building to look natural and lovely and green and lush vegetation and landscape or paving stones. Well, Shina is the man to call. All right, so let's unpack all we have here today and take a deep dive into some of these issues of the day. The request by Atiku and Peter Obi for live broadcast of the election petition proceedings has been dismissed by the tribunal, which says it will make the courtroom a marketplace or a stadium. Shino, do you agree with this? What do you think? Should we have been able to see these things? I mean, bottom line is Nigeria doesn't trust the judiciary. And so we've been clamoring to say we want to see these things going on so that there's no backroom shenanigans that could be done, especially since there's a cloud over the outcome of the elections. A lot of people have a lot of questions. So they wanted to be able to see these proceedings live and direct so that we know everything is above board and honest and there'll be no backroom deals and all that. Well, the court has said no. That is not Jankara market. And so there should be some sanctity to the proceedings and that the media will be allowed there and they will now come back and tell us what transpired. So if we don't trust the judiciary, we should trust the media. What do you think about that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Nigeria is at the point we are in a very sensitive point. Thank God I'm a product of the 70s. I've seen what has happened, what have transpired from the time I was born till date. I believe that in order not to create unnecessary tension, I think the court is wise enough to have stopped that public, how do I call it? I call it, it's going to be like a jamboree. I remembered the Oputa panel.
Yes.
That was just a panel of inquiry.
Yes.
But this is actually a court case,
yes,
a very sensitive one at that.
Yes.
Some people take it so religious.
Yes.
So by the time the processes begins and they start to see evidences and those that are giving evidences and the likes, it could turn to what we may not like.
And social media doesn't help issues these days because
Definitely.
all of a sudden they are showing the thing, broadcasting it live, and people are looking and they're commenting on social media. And especially many of us who are lay people and don't understand court procedure, there may be some things that transpire that we misinterpret or misunderstand, and passions get inflamed and things start getting thrown on social media and everything all of a sudden goes chaotic. So you are saying that it was a wise decision.
It was extremely wise of the tribunal,
yes,
to have laid it down.
And you don't think that will in any way diminish the integrity of the outcome or the integrity of the proceedings?
Yeah, as we all know, the judiciary or the courts is not Father Christmas. They react based on the evidences that are put before them. It has nothing to do with sentiments. And so I believe that broadcasting the proceedings live does not have anything to do with the outcome and should not have anything to do with the outcome of the court rulings. What we are interested in is let them get this thing done and let the government move on. Let
the truth come out and let the country move on.
Let the country move on.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Shino. Let's look at our next story here. Nigeria will henceforth locally refine its crude oil once Dangote refinery starts operations. Hooray! We've been waiting for this forever. Hopes are high that this significant achievement will bring an end to all our fuel woes, as well as bring a slew of other economic developments to our country and our people, including employment and shoring up our foreign reserve, which ultimately should improve the value of the naira. Shino, how significant do you think this Dangote refinery project will turn out to be for Nigeria and the Nigerian people?
Yeah, particularly I'm one of the most happiest person to have seen this happen. I was live when the Port Harcourt refinery was in full-blown action, the Kaduna refineries and the likes. I know what they put out from there. That time when you go to probably a filling station, a mobile filling station, you see them sell the fuel. They have, what is it called, an insecticide and the likes. Proceed from the production of crude oil. You can see it everywhere in Nigeria. But at the time, it all faded out. So for us to have Dangote Refinery, the largest in Africa, in Nigeria, in Lagos, I think this is wonderful for this country. I think it's a wonderful omen for what is to come in Nigeria. So I believe that it is a good project and a nice one.
Okay, so you agree with President Buhari that it's a game changer?
It is a game changer.
Yeah.
It is definitely a game changer. But I would like the government to please do something. They should please encourage all these multinationals, all this mobile and the like. Encourage them, empower them, encourage them to build more refineries so that we can have more. Enough of export of crude oil. We should be producing and be exporting finished
products. Yes, indeed.
That is what can help us in this country.
A lot of Nigerians agree with that. But there's also some concerns about the environmental impact of the refinery in the Lekki area. What do you think in terms of, remember that wherever we have things like oil rigs and oil wells, we've had spoliation of the environment, we've had oil spills, there's glass flaring. So people having had that bitter taste in their mouths from the environmental degradation of crude oil wells. And I was starting to wonder also, okay, a refinery, what are some of the downsides in terms of the environmental impact on the people within that surroundings, on Lagos in general, on Nigeria? Because this thing occupies 2,000 plus hectares. And there's so much equipment and stuff there. Meanwhile, the world is moving away from fossil fuels because of the danger to the environment. So we're using renewable energy, we're using solar, we're using wind, we're using all kinds of things because we know the dangers of fossil fuels. So here we are now, we've now built this massive plant that's going to process fossil fuels and will have some collateral spill-off. It will have some emissions. No matter what, there'll be some chemical reactions that are used to process crude into finished products. And they're making they're making diesel, aviation fuel, they're making petrol, they're making kerosene, they're even making fertilizer. So there's chemical reactions that will occur to convert crude oil into these finished products. Do you think that those chemical reactions may portend any danger to the environment and to the people in that region? And if it does, is it not too high a price to pay for the benefit we will get from the refined product?
Definitely. There will be aftermath of all those production and the likes. But I believe in one thing. Let us start what we have to start. Let us begin what we have to begin. I believe that there are technology, there are researches and the likes that has been done in order to minimize the effects of those toxic waste and the likes. And I believe that it has come to the time whereby the refinery itself, Dangote itself, must look out for the people around, the environment around. How do you assist in the aftermath of whatever that is coming out from the refinery? How do you help the people around? How do you help the environment? What do we do to assist the people around, the environment, the life that is there? So I believe that by the time it starts, I know they must have gone far beyond what we fear. They must have gone far. They must have done a whole lot of research on how to help the environment. And I'm very, very sure, I am 100% optimistic that this particular refinery will bring great things to Nigeria.
Yes, well said. Truth be told, any responsible government would have done something called an environmental impact assessment study before they would approve that kind of a gigantic project in that area. So the government, if it were responsible, and I know the Lagos State governments the last 3 or 4 since this thing came into planning about a decade and a half ago, the successive Lagos State governments since then have been quite responsible and responsive. So I'm sure that they did due diligence to make sure that whatever the impact was on the environment and on the people, it was mitigated by certain steps that I'm sure they put into the MOU before the project was able to be carried out. All right, let's move on as we are fast running out of time. This show never gives enough time because when we engage interesting people like you are here to come and give their take on the headline news of the day, there's no end to what we can discuss. 2 hours wouldn't even be enough, really. Yeah, so the next big story is this thing about President Joe Biden naming a 9-man team to come to attend the inauguration of President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu on May 29 next Monday. Now, why is that causing some furor? It's causing furor because, of course, there's still challenges to his declaration as president. That is normal. That will continue in the courts. But about a week ago, the U.S. took a position where it slammed a visa ban on some unnamed Nigerians under the allegation that they worked to undermine the elections, whether by rigging, whether by voter intimidation, voter suppression, vote buying, a slew of violence, different allegations of things they did to undermine the election. So some people are saying, by putting that visa ban, you are acknowledging that the election was not perfect, that it was flawed. For you to be saying that you have a list, you've banned some people from coming to America because they took steps to rig the election. That by that, you are tacitly admitting that the election was flawed. If you're admitting the election was flawed, how can you then endorse the outcome or the declared outcome by sending, first of all, the Secretary of State called the President-elect last week. That was the beginning of the indication that the U.S. was endorsing the victory of the President-elect. Now they are sending a delegation. Do you think this is doublespeak or hypocrisy on the part of America?
Not at all. I believe that the America, they are not actually endorsing. What they're actually doing is looking out for their own personal interests.
Absolutely.
In Nigeria. If you look at the list of the delegates that will be coming to Nigeria for the presidential inauguration, you can easily see, read in between the line, that they're actually coming to protect their interests. Regardless of how the election went and every other thing, governments will continue. United States of America will protect their interest in Nigeria. They know that Nigeria is a pointer to the whole of Africa. They have to protect their interest in Nigeria, considering the fact that China is romancing Nigeria very, very nicely. So they also want to make sure that they are on their foot. So I believe that them having to congratulate the president-elect and sending delegates for the inauguration, they are actually coming just to make sure that their interests. Remember, America does not play with their personal interests. They are coming for their interests. So I believe it's nothing. Yet, whatever the outcome of the court case is, governments will continue. And America will do whatever they need to do.
Yes.
So that is it.
I see. So yes, actually that's a very cogent point of view, is that it's not necessarily an endorsement, it's just continuity of relations. And whoever is in power at any given time, they will relate with the person. So for now, as far as legality is concerned, President-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the person. And that is who to relate with for now.
That's it.
If and until the court say differently. If the courts don't say differently, then the relationship continues. If the courts say differently, then they adjust and they carry on with whoever. So U.S. is just protecting its interest as everybody else, every other country would also do. Yeah. All right. Okay, and moving on to the last issue, which, for this show, which one way or another for the last several days, this is all we've been talking about, because it's just 4 days to the end of the tenure of this administration. Matter of fact, some people say 3 days. Today, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, because over the weekend, governance shuts down. And Monday morning, President Buhari is going to wake up and go straight to Eagle Square and hand over power. So essentially, it's today, tomorrow, and the day after to the end of his administration. So we're all looking at his performance in office. Yesterday, he inaugurated the Second Niger Bridge and a whole bunch of other projects. He says his legacy of his administration primarily is based on infrastructure. We have evidence of quite a lot of infrastructural projects. Second Niger Bridge, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, which he didn't start from scratch, but he refurbished and renovated. He did the trains. He's done quite a bit on infrastructure, but he didn't campaign on infrastructure coming into office. He campaigned on 3 pillars: corruption, insecurity, and the economy. How do you grade him? let's leave the infrastructure part. Let's just use that as a lead-in to his overall performance. How do you see President Buhari's tenure in office over the last 8 years for Nigeria in general?
Yeah, thank you very much. This question you ask is a very, very passionate question to me. It's something that I hold in great esteem. If you know me very well and you go through my social media, you know that people knows that I'm one of those Buharists,
okay,
unapologetic Buharists. But I must confess, President Buhari has not done too well.
Okay.
I must say, I'm saying this to the world. He has not done too well.
Overall.
But at the same time, the reason why we have what we have today is the inaction of the past administration. We have insecurity today. It didn't just start today. And it's not going to end in 8 years.
Okay.
It is not. But I believe that whatever that has been done today, whoever that is coming in, if it's consolidated upon and they work towards it rigorously, religiously, I believe we're going somewhere. It is not going. It's definitely is not Uhuru yet, but we believe that whatever President Buhari has done, any government, we believe government is a continuum. Yes. Any government that comes in, if they are able to consolidate on it, work on it, refine and move on, I believe Nigeria will be a better place. For sure, we know so many things, so many external influences that has affected the administration here in Nigeria, that have affected even the success of President Buhari himself. There are so many, the COVID, the Russia and the Ukraine war, so many other things, so many things. For example, there was a time he suspended the importation of rice. Those rice mills in Thailand and the likes, they're not going to fold their hands and look at Nigeria go self-sufficient on rice production.
Yes.
One way or the other, there will be influence.
Yes.
One way or the other, they will want to bring in their influence into the economy.
Yes.
So I want Nigerians at this time to please let us move on.
Okay.
President Buhari has done what he has to do.
How do you score him on a scale of 1 to 10?
On a scale of 1 to 10, on a scale of 1 to 10, if I want to remain who I am, I will give him 6.
All right. Beautiful. Yesterday we had a 5. The other day we had a 2. So arithmetic progression. We had a 6 today. Maybe tomorrow we have a 7 and we'll get to 10 by the day he hands over on May 29th. All right, Nigeria. That's where we have to leave it for today. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of What's Your Take. And we look forward to all of you out there coming to the studio to give your take. That's what this show is all about. It's about getting the opinions of Nigerians all across the board and getting their take as to what is important. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time.